think we should be live. Hello, hello. And as usual, we're a minute or two early, so it'll be a couple of minutes as people roll in, hopefully. But happy Friday. I'm not sure. No one else in the Slack this week posted anything about projects. So if you did work on a video generation project this week and you want to join the stream and show it off, let me know. I'll share my LinkedIn. The best way is just ping me on there or during the Slack, which I'll share the link out to that in a second as well. I'll make sure I pulled up so I can actually see it if somebody does ping me on there. And I'll go into a little bit about what this event is if it's your first time here in a second. But again, we'll just wait a couple of minutes as people are rolling in. But again, there is a Slack group that you do not have to join. But if you want to, again, message to join the stream, that's a good spot, or my LinkedIn. And also there's a channel that it's just ML and AI in there where I kind of share the streams and what we're working on. And if you're working on the project, so the idea of this stream is that it's not always just me showing off stuff. Usually we have quite a few people, like sometimes 4 or 5 people will actually end up building a project from kind of the topic that week and then share them in stream. This week, I'm not sure if anyone else did. Last week, no one did for the image one either. It's a different type of thing than agents. Like a lot more people are building stuff with agents and evals. So I'm not sure if they're just not as interested or that you need a GPU to do the stuff and it's just more time consuming. So I might be the only one presenting again today, but I had a lot of fun diving into this week's subject, which was open source video generation. And I took a stab at trying, not every model, especially video gen, takes quite a bit of time, at least on the hardware that I have. So there's a whole bunch of experimentation and stuff that I didn't even get to yet, but I did try quite a few models to just see how they do from like text to generation, like prompt to generation. And then I also did, I'll go through this more slowly in a few minutes as people arrive in, but just to kind of show a preview of these are all different models, rendering kind of the same prompt in there. And then I also got into experimenting, trying to kind of like refine and make a longer videos. So basically by default, a lot of the models can generate like 2-second clips. And I was trying to find ways where I could stitch them together pretty good and try to get a longer form video. And longer form for me is 8 seconds here, which again, a lot of the models do like 2-second clips. And even the closed source gated models like CDance and stuff. I don't know what their current limit is, but I see a lot of like 16-second clips from them. So and same with, I think like Grok Imagine is like 8 seconds or something. So even like the state of the art video gen models, at least from what I've seen, are pretty short clips. So yeah, we'll be taking a look at these and some of the experiments that I ran to try to get longer form ones. Again, this one actually just finished before I started the stream, so I haven't even looked at it yet. So I'll dive into a few different things that I was playing around with this week. But again, did anybody else build one of the project or like poke around at open source video generation this week? I'll share the link one more time. So you did build a project, or even if you didn't build a project, but you just want to come on stream and talk about it in audio or video, you can. Again, just message me on LinkedIn. But also, if you talk in the chat, like I see people are saying hello. Someone said hello from San Diego. One of my coworkers is watching from Linwood. Someone's from Inglewood. I'm gonna keep an eye on chat like normal and try to bring the discussion points into the conversation, even if you don't actually join the live stream here. So keep talking in chat, ask questions, share your stories in there. Yeah, has anyone, I guess, even if it wasn't this week, has anyone poked around with kind of any open source models for video generation before? Oops, get the larger run. Let's bring this back up. And I'm running this all on a DGX Spark. So that's just kind of my GPU hardware that I was using to experiment with this week. And then this UI you see is Flight 2. So I use Flight to orchestrate and manage basically all the experiments that I do from my home lab, which is just my DGX Spark basically right now. If I had more GPUs and more like DGX Sparks, I could put them on a cluster and then actually have these like fan out and run in parallel here. But I did everything sequential because I just was kind of limited with the one. Cool. And I see someone said no, they not aware of those models. That's the reason I joined. Awesome. Well, again, there's a ton of models out there, and I did not get to every single one. Again, they also take a long time. Like I even tried a bigger model that was like a 7-hour run overnight last night, but I had something fail during it. So I'm gonna have to go debug that. I was able to get that one to run, but supposedly that one, which is a Skyreels, can do longer form runs. So this is again not an extensive list, but just some of them. These are the ones that I did this kind of comparison to, and then I did. I see Jay is here on the stream. Welcome, Jay.
Hey.
I was just getting started talking about which models I was using in my comparison, and then I do have a few others in individual runs, and also ones that can do like restyling and stuff. So if you're already here at the beginning, I kind of showed a little bit of some of the other experimentations that I did. But the two that I was hearing the most about just in general, and other people, like if you have a model you hear about, put it in the chat because I would love to check it out if I didn't get to do a run with it. But is one 2.1 and one 2.2. And then again, I'm pretty limited for my hardware. So I was running these. This is a 1.3 billion version, and this is a 5 billion version. They have larger ones, so if you want more detail, you could probably run a larger one if you can. And then LTX 2 and LTX, I think there's one 1.5 or something is out. LTX and 1 are the ones that I see come up the most from people in the community doing like video generation. So I don't know if anyone else has other ones that they've seen pretty consistently that come up. This one I had seen a couple times, not as much. Hyunya or Hunyan, not 100% sure if I'm pronouncing it right there. That's from Tencent, and this one also seems pretty good. And then this one I had never heard of. Again, we'll see variations for these different prompts here. But Kandinsky 5 did actually really good results too. And it's under MIT license. So one is under Apache 2.0, and LTX has their own community license, and then some other ones have their own community licenses as well. So depends if you're using these for like commercial applications. Obviously, that's a factor that you'd come in and want to go poke around at. But yeah, this one is one I'm gonna experiment around with more because it was having some really good results. So just to kind of show you. And then there's a Skyreels, which is a very small one. This 1.3B, which I didn't have in my experience here. These ones don't look as good. They have a larger one, which is what I was trying to run last night. The thing about them is supposedly they can do a good job on longer form clips and keep kind of some of the diffusion latent space of like what they're supposedly generating. I had my run fail after 6 hours, so I have to rerun that later and see how good it looks. But we can look up these models too and see some of their demo examples. But their newer ones are gated for a lot of them as well. Like one has like a 2.5 or 6 out, I think, but it's gated, and then Skyreels has a new one gated right now as well. So we'll see if they open source them. Motif, and then Asana 2 billion, which is a NVIDIA one as well. All right, so this is the first prompt, which I'm just showing a wave crashing against black volcanic rock, sea spray, overcast, slow motion. We were kind of looking at this, and then I tried doing something with hands because it's always interesting to see how the models work with hands. And you can see that, like I say, a blacksmith hammering a glowing orange horseshoe on an anvil, sparks flying in each strike, dark workshop. Some of them, like the one doesn't really look too great here. The one 2.2 does a lot better. Still not incredibly good. LTX 2 distilled is pretty good, but one thing that's really funny. Oh, I can't zoom in on the full screen. Let me go back here. So one thing I thought was just really funny is that maybe they would add it if I prompted it, but none of them added gloves to the blacksmiths. So I think this is gonna really hurt your fingers in the morning if you're just holding the molten metal here. Even this one didn't do that either. Just thought it was a really fun, like, kind of detail. And then said a woman with curly red hair. The green glasses turns and faces the camera smile. So some of them turn, some of them don't. A lot of them pretty decent looking, like better than I thought out of the box, I think. Again, LTX2, very good. I kind of like the panning shot in this action shot. Looks pretty cool. Again, the Kaninsky one is pretty good. And then a little bit of nightmare fuel is this Motif 2 billion one is kind of creepy looking. And then I tried to do just kind of like having it do a slow push shot through a forest here. Some of them, again, pretty good looking. Some of them are kind of weird, or they generate like weird artifacts that we didn't. We didn't ask for it, but I guess we were also super explicit in it. Oh, someone had a good question. Is there audio in any of these videos? The LTX is the only one out of these models that will generate audio. So actually, I haven't listened to it. Let's see. This is. I don't know. I think I'm sharing my audio, but I'm not sure if anyone can actually hear it on stream. What was that, Jay? You're muted.
I can hear it.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, you
it's
are
actually like reasonably lined up with the hammer blows.
Yeah, that's an interesting too. Like if people are talking, like I don't know. I don't hear any noise from this one. I don't think they said anything. But yeah, that is a thing with some of the models is that you can. This is like music that it decided to throw in. It does. Some of them do have sounds that can generate. Cool. Someone said they can hear the pounding. Awesome. Good. So next week, again, the idea is hopefully other people want to build these projects and like talk about them on stream or show them off in the Slack group. Next week, we're doing one on sound, which is going to be natural voice. So there's like a lot of the text to voice models. So we're going to do that next week. And then another generation one we're doing after that is text to music or lyrics to song. So I wanted to make sure the sound was shareable here too. So if you're interested in like sound generation, the next 2 streams, we're going to be doing more of that. And I am kind of excited because I haven't really dived into these yet, but I think they're going to be a lot less time consuming to generate one thing. Like the videos just take a lot of time to experiment with. So it was hard to do as many experimentations as I wanted here. This was interesting. Saying a glass of red wine tips over a marble counter and spills the wine across the surface. A lot of them don't really tip a wine glass. They're showing like wine spilling or some sort of liquid, but it doesn't really quite do the tipping here, which is pretty interesting. Ooh, and somebody said use latent sync 1.6. Let me note that down real quick. Is that a sync, an audio sync thing for like videos or something else? Latent sync 1.6. We can look that up in a second too. Yeah, so that was pretty interesting. Wine glasses, they don't fall. There is I don't know, some spilling on some of them. This one, I guess, kind of falls. It doesn't quite look like a wine glass, but something going on. A red sports car speeds past the camera on a wet city street. Neon reflection on the asphalt. Again, some of these, clearly look like AI. Or animated type of stuff. This has like a lot of artifacts here for some reason. Like this didn't look as good. The LTX one I think looks pretty good here. Like it's from like a camera mounted on the car. The Kandinsky one again I think actually looks pretty good too. Mm-hmm. And then this small Skyreels one just looks like some weird synthwave animated thing. And then actually this one did better than I thought too for how small this model is. And then just like the image one that we did last week, if you were here, we're also testing like which ones can do text creation. And so video, they seems, even harder than image generation for spelling out text. So a lot of these I said, neon sign with open 24 hours, flickering above the diner door. A lot of these didn't quite do very well. Some are kind of close. This one did. I think that's that's like the only one that did actually. Oh no, it says 24 hours. And even this one's kind of wrong here. So text generation for these was even harder than the image gen, which makes sense. And someone said the latent sync is for lip sync. Awesome. I will look that up actually because that sounds awesome to add into the video stuff. And kind of maybe I'll even look into that or next week if I combine the text to speech in with the videos, which is kind of what I ultimately want to do. And then I wanted to try to get some action shots here. So which ones can do skateboarding right? Some of these look, pretty good, even though I feel like the skateboard is off in all of them. The way it moves, the physics is not always here.
You're a little bit confused about it, like a kickflip or.
Yeah, and some are like decent for for just like a prompt thing for
like that ollie looks pretty good. Was that what that was?
Yeah. For like how small these models are, like they're doing a decent job on some of them. This one's pretty good too. Again, that Kadensky 5 is doing a pretty good job, I feel like. That one actually might be the best consistency, even though the physics is kind of weird. And then actually I just noticed the person just kind of fades. He doesn't turn. He just kind of fades the other way. I was looking at the skateboard. The skateboard there looks maybe the best out of them. This is one of my favorites. This is how everyone skateboards, I think, right?
Somebody's asking about descriptive audio. Did you ever try to do like a narrator in any of these or something like that?
No, the only one that can do the audio is that LTX out of these models. So
I guess like will it read like a text from prompt that you quote
I don't know.
as like say this in the scene?
I haven't tried it yet. So it's a good question because someone said can these models add descriptive audio either in creation or post? So the LTX one might be able to, and then the other ones don't do audio generation, but you could probably have them, or I guess you could have it, like you could come up with a description for it, I guess, based on your prompt or something and narrate it. But that'll be like using whatever text-to-speech model is as a kind of two-wave thing, I think, from these models. Again, there might be other ones that do the audio as well, but not the most of the ones I tried this week that are open source do not. Then I tried doing a paper plane floats down a rain gutter in the middle and tips over and sinks. And some of them have good texture. This one just decided to do animated, which doesn't look bad, but I don't think we didn't say do realistic, but it's interesting that decided that. Again, this Kadensky 5 one, I think, is one of the better ones here for like the background and kind of the physics. Yeah. So these are the ones I just kind of quickly compared here. And then I did a lot of other experimentation, like trying to make longer form ones or add other layers to it. I should have labeled my runs a little bit better, but I was trying to then go from like instead of the text to video, like the other ones are all prompt to video. I wanted to add in, like last week we did image generation and then take an image and then animate that image. So you have like a reference starting point. So you could actually do some work generating images, which is a lot faster, get kind of the look and feel that you want, and then hopefully pass it to like a video model and start getting that to kind of animate. And so this is like kind of, again, these paper boats. The water looks really weird here, but it does kind of work. And then this fox one, the fox kind of fades in and it doesn't really know how to kind of track that as over time. And this is using the one 2.2, again, 5 billion parameter. So if you have larger models, you're probably going to get better results. This is just me working with like what I could run on my hardware in a decent amount of time. And then so we did the animate, and then I think this one,
the Kandinsky model that you were using for some of these really high quality photorealistic ones, how big is that model actually to download?
Like the size, I don't remember.
Yeah, like could that run on a regular laptop, or do you need like a terabyte of
well, actually I think the size in memory or the size to download, because I think I actually
I guess both are relevant.
Sorry, there's a lot of videos I have to refresh to get this to render, I think. So I think I might even say how much gigabytes they took up. So 74 Kadensky, only 26 gigabytes was peak inside my DJX Spark.
Okay, so that's doable on like a 32 gig or larger RAM laptop. If it's
probably 32 might be close, because probably your operating system's probably taking up more than 4 gigs or whatever. But yeah, I know in here, so like the LTX is a pretty big one that has like 73 gigs that was in the RAM. Yeah, so on the DJX Spark, if people don't know, you have 128 gigabytes of unified RAM. With the OS and stuff, it's usually closer like 120 or something like that. So I can run like this model, but this is a distilled version again, and this is kind of getting closer to probably what I can really run in the DGX Spark. Yeah, so I tried animating and adding different prompts of like, okay, you start with that image again, but then make it do something like make it fly up. It kind of leaves the other one behind, so it's not perfect, but trying to animate things around it with a starter image. And then what I really wanted to do was, again, I should have renamed this a little bit better, is get the longer form videos. So again, most of these just generate like 2-second clips. So I was like, can we chain them together and create a longer form one? So this is basically just like 4 different generations and then kind of stitched together. And you can see even this kind of simple boat one, it starts kind of I don't know, the word is like it starts looking weird. Like the longer they run, they start like kind of decaying in consistency. And let's see, did I for this one? So this is a person walking, and again, you can see that when they turn towards the camera, they start looking really weird. But even before they turn, like you can see the lighting gets all weird and stuff like that. Basically, on the next generation. And what I'm doing here is like chaining. Like you have a starting image. So this is actually starting from SDXL Turbo. You get this image, and then it's animating that image, and then doing another one. So you're just basically chaining these generations together. And even without the turn, which might always look weird here, like adding that many features in, you can see it starts adding like weird color artifacts and stuff like that. And I was able to actually get way better results. Basically chaining like that. So basically you're taking the last frame from the previous generation and then doing another generation based on that frame. But the color kind of drifts over time. So I was able to get a way better result though. Like this isn't perfect by doing the chaining from the last frame generated, but then doing like renormalization on the color based on the input image. So I would extract like RGB values from this image, and then basically on the last frame generated, like this one, before it goes into the next model, kind of recolor it so that it fits so that it's closer to the original image. And so that helped a lot from like color drifting and getting all these like weird artifacts that I was getting when I wasn't doing that. And this is definitely isn't perfect. Again, smaller model here. You'll see some weird changes, but I'm actually kind of impressed with how consistent the background is, even though again, there is stuff that isn't, but like this sign, like it walking around between these different generations.
Like you can almost read it. It stays there.
I don't think it's real text either, but like it looks consistent through, pretty consistent through the whole thing. Obviously it shifts a little bit. But so yeah, adding that basically renormalization color part to the chaining really, really helped to the results for this. Also, not having them turn around helped probably too. Like I have to try that again and see if I could do like a face type generation thing. But yeah, I was kind of impressed with that. Like I was like, I feel like I'm getting somewhere with that. And then so I was trying different iterations of that. And then let's see. Again, I should have had a better label for some of these runs. So then I was also trying something out where we generate a video with the generation, and then you basically strip it down, and you can extract different features. So like here I'm extracting edges, and then I actually get maybe even better results. I'll show a little bit later, but doing depth extraction. So it actually tries to kind of get the objects a little bit better. Oh, this actually isn't a good one. So this was like too dark, and it tried to generate on top of it, and it kind of just lost all the shapes together. But if we go look at the other one afterwards, it's probably one of these ones. Well, this is restyling with that clip that we saw before. And then it's using this one vase model, which is video something editing. So now we get these edges, and then we're adding like a new style on top of it. So this is looked kind of good again, just for like that 2-second clip, be able to add some animation in. And then there's also like a bookend, which you might have seen, like where you can use a frame to frame. Like you give it you give it 2 endpoints, so like 2 generated frames. Like this is the starting one, and this is the ending frame. The person further away, and then give it a prompt, and then it will try to generate between those two frames. I noticed when I do this, like the artifacts in the background like changed way more than the other type of generation, like the chaining. So this didn't work very good for consistency. And then I tried anchoring, where we would generate chains like we did before, but then also try to re-anchor the style on the original image here. And I don't know, it had some interesting results. It was not super great, but it was again a little bit better, like maintaining some of the background at least until the end here. And it does pan away, like it is pretty consistent. It looks like an actual cityscape coming in. And then I get to, let's see if this was one of the good ones.
I gotta hop out. This is super cool so far.
All right, so then I do the depth mapping. So this is again that kind of pretty good clip that we have. We extract now, instead of edges, like kind of this depth, like they use like a 2D depth extract in here. So we get this person pretty isolated and some of the scene in the background here. And then we try to add a style on top of it. And the thing was like the styling model here is basically trained to only generate for like 81 frames, which is like 4 seconds. And here I was doing every 2 frames, every stitch together click. And it just wasn't consistent here at all. Like you can see every time basically the 2 seconds are stitched together, the scene changes a lot in the background. Same with this realistic version. Then I tried to push it to the limits on, gonna have to click it. I actually had all these open originally, but it was eating up all my CPU. So I have to, while streaming, I had to open them up each individually. So here I took again that clip that we think is like, decent, and then strip it down again using this depth map control. And then I actually got pretty consistent. Wait, is this a consistent one? No, this isn't. That one is still inconsistent. It's one of these ones, one of the more recent ones. The one right before this. Is it this one? Yeah, so I think this is where we start getting more consistency. So again, using that clip, depth, and then what I did was actually just run that basically this restyling model longer than what it's like trained for, and was able to get it to full 8 seconds, like actually pretty decently well here, I think. Obviously, there's still some artifacts that kind of, jump around in the background, but this is, I think, so far, like the most consistent one that we've seen with this kind of effect that can go again on an 8-second clip, which for these open source models is pretty hard. And then we tried it on a realistic one. Originally, this one is way too dark here, but it is, again, like the background shifts a little bit, but fairly consistent again for, this is a pretty small model that we're working with here. So I might go try this with like a 14 billion parameter one later, and just maybe I'll do more tests with a small one. And then when I think that's going to work, do it a much longer run on a bigger model. And then this one actually just finished right before the stream, so I actually don't know if this is good or not. So I tried to do the same thing there, but brighten it up quite a bit. And let's see. I feel like the background's shifting more in this one for some reason. And again, you're losing like the details of the person here. But I don't know. I feel like it's kind of interesting, decent results for these smaller models. Again, not perfect. And I think there's a lot of room to play with kind of this pipeline that I've been putting together of the chaining with like the renormalization, where we're not losing, it's not going too crazy like some of the other ones before we did that. Obviously a little bit crazy. And then the stripping out, which I wonder too if there's something to doing this original generation. If we know that we're going to strip it down to this, maybe we don't have to generate as many details, or maybe you start with an animated one, but maybe you would lose some of the depth details. I'm not quite sure, but maybe you can start with a simpler like animated scene that can give you just more clear blocks or something like that. Strip it down to the edges or depth like we have here, and then apply a style to it. And I wonder if it would just be easier to apply to if they were like very cleanly drawn blocks for things that they should be. I'm not quite sure, but I think that's going to be one of my next tests to see if I can generate a longer clip. I really want to get to doing like a decent 16-second clip, so double what this is, because that's what I've seen a lot of the other big like state of the art gated models do. And if I can get a reasonable 16-second clip, I think that'd be kind of cool. And I think I mentioned before, if you were here for like the image one, eventually I kind of want to get to a point where I can stitch this together with the next thing of the text to speech and the music generation, and then kind of do like put together like a AI TV commercial type of thing, but with all open source models. So if you uh, are using closed source ones, like there are a bunch of pretty good ones right now. Like I don't know if you've seen Dance 2, which is TikTok's one. This does a pretty good job on generation, but again, it's not open source. You might be able to try it for free. So start for free. I haven't actually tried a generation here yet. It does pretty realistic videos from a lot of the demos I've seen. Again, when you actually start generating stuff yourself, that can change because it's not like cherry picked results. But the stuff I've seen from them, they seem to be like one of the best video generation models currently that I've seen. Has anyone else seen any other ones that open source or not open source that you've played around with? Another one that looks interesting is Sky Reels. Let me bring that up. Sky Reels. I just found this, and then we got a sponsor result here, but Runway is one that comes up all the time too. Again, these are not open source ones though, so a little bit different. You have to pay to use their studio or API, which if you're doing commercial stuff, you actually need this right now. Obviously, probably the best way to create something, but I wanted to mess around with open source ones and see what I could do currently in its current state with kind of my limited hardware as well. And this is what I got to in the week. So again, the idea of this stream is if you want to build a project is you don't have to build anything perfect based on what the topic is. Like spend an hour or something like that, vibe coding or learning the topic, and then come and like talk about what you learned. So yeah, I wasn't able to spend my full week on this because I have a full-time job that I was very busy at this week, like almost every other week, and this was just kind of on the side. I would try to kick off a run and some experiments and then kind of document what I found there. So pretty fun. And then also when you do that, it's way easier to come back and jump into the topic, I feel like, because you spent a little bit of time of like breaking that barrier to like building a pipeline and getting that type of stuff going. And then you can come back and like try a different model, or when a new model comes out, you already have a pipeline and you can hopefully throw it in here and run it in with your experiments. So kind of curious. I don't know what do people think so far of these like open source ones that I'm showing off. Was there anything interesting you saw here? Any other ideas that I should try for generating a longer clip outside of like chaining? Again, the chaining with like renormalization based on the original image gave me so far kind of some of the best results with pretty small models. And even though these smaller models aren't the most cutting edge, I think it's kind of fun to tinker around with stuff where you're limited and push the smaller models and come up with ways to try to make them look good. So it's a need to figure out how to eval these models. Yeah, do you mean like an auto eval type of thing, or because right now it's like I'm just kind of visually looking at it. Obviously, you can throw it into another VLM type of thing to do some evaluation too. Like actually, if you have Claude go pull down a video and it can look at frames, and it can kind of evaluate based on some metrics you give it or tell that it's really dark. But I don't think any of the VLMs do an amazing job of doing like whole evals and understanding, but they are a step in the right direction. Like if you did want to have it look at this and be like, make sure the scene makes sense, and maybe it could reason that a blacksmith should have gloves on it, right? And then it could correct the prompt. That's something I haven't done, is like a generation and then having something like Claude look at it and then try to prompt optimize automatically. You could totally try that. I just don't think it's going to be perfect. But some stuff, like I was saying, if it could reason that they don't have gloves because they're blacksmith, it might be able to add that into the prompt and auto generate. I think that would be interesting to try. And somebody said, they'd really like to see a heads-up comparison on the larger open models. So like the one 2.2 14B. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to kick off um, some 14B runs because I can run them. They just take like 7 hours on my current hardware to generate. So I need to line up a couple overnight runs or something like that because and I actually even literally tried this Skyreels 14B last night and I had something fail. It failed this morning, or I saw it was failed this morning, so I needed to debug why. It just didn't save an MP4 or generate an MP4. I don't know why yet, but that's one of the reasons. Just because they're pretty slow to generate, at least on the GPU that I have. But I do want to evaluate them too with the one 14B um, might make a huge difference for kind of again the refining stuff where I was like, this looks kind of decent. What I think I want to do is maybe play around with this from these 1.3 billion models as my prototyping pipeline, and then kick off a 14B1 and see if that works. And somebody said, have you tried running the smaller models with an identical prompt multiple times to see how much variation they create? So what I've seen, and this is true of the image generation too, I didn't do a ton of that, but I did a little bit of it. Like when I was first getting them to run, oops, this one I don't redo. But what I've noticed is if you leave the seed exactly the same and the prompt exactly the same, the videos, at least for these 2-second ones, I think the longer they are, they're probably more likely to drift. But for these 2-second ones, they actually do seem very identical. And this is probably same with the images because they're just with the images, at least, right? You're denoising, or you're starting with noise and then removing that noise, and that's like what how the diffusion part works. And the seed kind of gives you like that noise and how you remove it. So if you change the seed, which is like the starting point, you'll get different images back. But if you do the same seed, you always got these same images. And I noticed it from the little bit that I did that with videos that was also true. So like this is the LTX distilled, this first run that I did. And then in the compare one, where I did more of them, actually, this might even have it too. In the compare one, oh, I didn't have the LTX in there, but so the LTX one we'll see in a second. But again, so here's the motif and here's the Kadinsky one. And then we'll go back and look at this larger compare run that I did. And again, we're just eyeballing it here. So it's not pixel perfect validation. But we can see that like this LTX one, to my eye at least, it looks the same. So there might be some small variation that I can't tell. And then same with the other ones that we just saw. So using the exact same prompt, if you change like one word of it or letter, it's probably going to throw it off. And with the same seed, for the 2-second generation, they looked pretty identical to me. And Mitch also said, agree, feel like human eval is still the way to go for physics, object permanence, etc. Yeah, I don't know how to get around it. Like, I feel like you always need the human eval piece right now. Again, I think you can add in some of the VLMs to help with some metrics to automate some stuff, but it's not going to be perfect. And I've done that too with some of the physical AI rollout stuff. Because they always optimize for reward. Reward looks good, but then the thing you're training walks really weird or something like that. And there's only so much a VLM can detect that too. Like if it's super obvious, like if the thing doesn't walk, like a humanoid robot in the simulation doesn't walk and it like just jumps, maybe it could figure that out. But if it's walking a little funky, I feel like the VLMs, at least right now, have a really hard time detecting that. There might be some stuff you could do, thinking on the physical simulation side, not on the video gen. If you know, like you're doing a humanoid robot walking, you could do key pointing on it and then like look at the gait that way, and that's a probably better valuation in term for the physical AI part, and then you could have it adjust parameters from that, like give the gait metrics to an agent or Claude, and then adjust the parameters. But for video gen like this, I don't know how to get around human eval right now. And someone said, can you add closed captioning even in another language? like Spanish with these models. So again, I didn't really try out the closed captioning. The only one was the LTX one that had it. And I didn't try prompting it for specific noises or even words. So I don't know if it does like speech generation or just kind of noises actually, because any of the ones that we had, it didn't have any words. And I don't know if it does on any other languages. But next week, oh, I don't know if I shared this link earlier, but all the code and resources are all on GitHub too. So if you do want to poke around any of the code that you saw today or any of the previous ones that we've done, you can do so here. But yeah, the text to speech event next week, like this is what I'll be looking into. And maybe with that, I'll see about these video ones, but I don't know for the video and sound generation models, at least the open source ones, they didn't seem incredibly robust to me. And they said, actually, if these models are creating the videos, you could probably specify creating multiple videos, each of its own human language. Oh, like, yeah, or probably more efficient. I'm not sure because I haven't done this yet. So is like someone mentioned that the lip syncing thing. I don't know if that does the video part of the lip syncing. But I've seen some like auto dubbing type of stuff that comes out now. So what you would probably want to do, my guess is that would be more efficient and consistent. So because if you're generating multiple videos with different prompts in there, they're probably going to look different. So you probably want to get the video looking as good as you can. And then you would use something that would change the dubbing and the mouth is what I would do. Because otherwise I just don't think they're going to be pretty consistent. Again, we didn't really prompt it for any specific noises. So actually, let's see if it does driving noises. Yep, just weird music again. Any of these ones? It's kind of got this weird like tone it just likes to add in. Again, I didn't prompt it to do anything here. So maybe if you had given it a prompt for noise. It really just likes adding this like lo-fi beat, except for the hammering. That one actually did hammering. Otherwise, it's all weird like music. Someone said, do these models just do video creation or do they do video editing? So some of them do video editing, and that's actually like these refined steps. There's this one that's built on one. I forget what VASE stands for. It's video something editing. And this can do things like restyling transfers. And so that, and there's built-in stuff like, again, getting this depth control map out and then applying a style to it. So that'd be a form of editing. I don't know if you have a different kind in mind. Like removing stuff, you could probably prompt to remove things out of videos like you can with image gen models as well. Oh yeah, this one doesn't look as good. I was trying something out with still doing the chaining, but then kind of blending the scenes, and yeah, that didn't work very good. So yeah, so far for the longer ones, my best result is that just like we did here, again, the chaining with the end frame for the next one, but then renormalizing the colors, that helped a ton. And then this one, again, I feel like the animation here, but pretty consistent background. This car kind of pops in and warps over here, but everything else, maybe because it's more simplified animation, I thought this looked pretty good. And I was kind of impressed again with the small model that was able to make this. So yeah, I want to recreate the pipeline with a 14B. See how that would go. But like I was saying, I don't know. I was just experimenting building out like my video gen pipeline and like what does that even look like. So yeah, doing it with the small models and then trying a big model might be the way to go. It'll be interesting to see. And with these ones, you also start with the initial image here. So like you can have your image gen part where you're selecting what you want to look like. Yeah, see what happens. I don't know, pretty interesting. Again, I had fun playing around with it this week and getting the experiments that I could in. Again, the 14Bs took so long that I didn't even get a super successful one there. except for in the compare for just the pure generation stuff. Some of these are pretty big. But yeah, just for the 2-second clips, you can see that some of them took a while to render. I think I have the time logged for each of these too in here. Yeah, so it says the amount of seconds. So some of them are pretty fast to do a 2-second clip, but when you're creating more clips together, it's quite a bit of time. And then doing like style transfer. And the person talking about editing was said they were thinking about they were thinking about take a video done in English characters and then editing it where they speak in another language but mouth movements matches the language. Yeah, so there's some auto dubbing libraries I think for that. Or actually I don't know if these would work. I don't think these have the built-in stuff. Let's see real quick. Oh, actually, what was the one? The person also said that one. Let's look up that. So, latent sync 1.6. Let's see what that actually does. Oh, it's 11 Labs comes up. ByteDance. Oh, it's by ByteDance. So this is the people who do C-Dance. It's TikTok, right? Their parent company. Let's see if they have any examples. On the model card. So, oops. Oh yeah, so this probably does. It looks like this does the auto dubbing with mouth movement. So you get framed mass frames, and then it does generate the. It looks like generates the images with new mouth movements, and I assume this does the audio part too. Yeah. So here, whisper encoder is getting the spectrogram of the audio. Cool. I will check this out. I'm going to share this in the Slack group as well in the channel. So again, if you want to join the group and share resources or anything like that, share the link one more time. But yeah, this looks cool. Oh, and they said not dubbing because usually the dubbed language does the mouth or facial movements. Are saying it does not. Because it sounds like dubbing. I might be misunderstanding your use case, but the dubbing in this case does the facial movements is what it's trying to do. So it's not just adding the audio. This one is also like adding the mouth movements. I haven't tried this model out. Some of the earlier models did an okay job with it, but they weren't like super great. But I think this is out since last time I looked at dubbing, so I bet this is even better. So this will do. Again, I haven't tried it, but this should theoretically do what you're asking for. I think the language translation, and then also the mouth movements for it. I wonder too if it would. I wonder if you. So if I generated a video without talking, because like these ones again, except for that one, I wonder how it would do if you could actually just use that to add in speaking in general too. So if there wasn't any mouth movements at all already, and you add in words, I wonder if it would add in mouth movement on someone who wasn't talking already. I think that would actually be interesting to see too. I don't know if it would work that way. It does look like it masked that whole mouth area though, and it's probably just its own model generating it. So I wouldn't be surprised if you could just use that to add in speaking. So I might try that too when I get to the point of. Oh yeah, I didn't share the URL in the chat. I shared in the Slack. Here's the Hugging Face link, and then here's the GitHub one. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see if we can just add in speech to it. Yep, no problem. Any other thoughts or questions on it? I don't know what do people think about the models again, not even being the most robust ones, but this is all stuff I could just generate on local hardware. Are people going to try out any models? Try out any methods to make a longer form video? What was this one again? Yeah, this one moved. Yeah, it some interesting stuff to play around with here. And like I was saying, it seems like obviously there's companies that fully focus on this as their full research that can make these longer ones. But even with them, like I was saying, their clips are usually fairly short. Oh, I haven't even looked at this one yet. I think this was. Oh no, this is C Dance. It's just they're showing it running on some platform, and they might do a good job too, or a better job of like taking reference frames and using that same character in like another area. But even that, I see that struggles quite a bit. I think from what I've seen with even the like really good models. Yeah, it's a merging field right now, right? So in the next year, though, they're probably gonna look really cool. I'll feel nostalgia for the weird stuff, right? Because in another year or two, who knows if we'll have weird stuff that gets generated. Like maybe everyone will skateboard perfectly on any new model. And I kind of miss the weird, like, or I'm going to miss the weird AI generated stuff. Like the classic example is, oh, maybe I should have even tried it on these as the Will Smith eating spaghetti. If you've seen that from like a long time ago, and it looked super weird and awful, and then now it's like starting to look pretty good. That would actually have been a fun example to compare across these models. I didn't think about that until just now. But yeah, I love seeing the weird stuff right now, and then again, might be gone in all the newer models. And so, it said, are there standard benchmarks for these types of models? I don't know. I don't know if there's a eval benchmark. Again, like we were saying, I think for them, it's at least from what I know, um, it's a lot of human looking at it. So I don't know if there's like a way to really benchmark these outside of whatever your perception of as whatever your perception of how good they are is. But if anyone else knows, let me know. I don't do video generation for my like full-time job or anything like that. So this is my first really foray into doing anything with it. It's just this week messing around for a few hours. Technically more if you're counting the generation time, but the actual getting stuff together and experimentations that I was designing wasn't that much time this week. So usually I use this as a starting point, talk about it, and then continue on kind of tinkering around. And like I was saying, usually we have other people on stream showing off projects that they've built, but no one else did, I think, for the video generation. Again, it might just be also that it's just pretty time and compute expensive. So that could be one of the reasons. Next week, again, is going to be text to speech, though. So I'm pretty interested to hop into this. And I think the models are going to probably be a lot faster to generate examples, and you probably don't need as much VRAM. So if you want to build an example and again, come on stream and like talk about it and maybe use the event data as like a forcing function to actually dive in and build something, you are more than welcome to, and we'd love to have you there. Any other thoughts or final questions before I probably wrap up the stream for today? And yeah, the pipeline's built all here on Flight Dev Box, and then mostly just using Hugging Face Hugging Face diffusers for running the models. So like in this compare one, I'm fetching all these models and then generating them again sequentially because I have the one GPU, but on Flight, like if you had this actually deployed on a cluster, you could fan all this out in parallel. But I really like having this UI, and it still orchestrates my local compute for me, which is really easy. So it does like the experimentation management is awesome because as you can see, I could click around and go in and then actually have all the generations embedded just directly like tied to the exact whole like pipeline lineage here, which is super nice. Everything gets versioned, like all the inputs and outputs between these. And then even just orchestrating my local compute's nice. Like I have in some other projects, I have apps that are running so I can actually host models in here and give them like a time to life. And I ping my Gemma 4 26B app and it'll spin it up and then spin it down after a while. So if you are interested in that too, I'll share the GitHub. Oops. Here's the GitHub for flight. And then again, like I was saying, all the code is here on the repo too. So yeah, hopefully you thought it was interesting. I had fun this week. And then the other upcoming ones with the generations we talked about. And then we're going to do reinforcement learning for physical AI. So actually going back to that problem about how do you evaluate that. That would be interesting. I don't know if I'll have time for that week to throw it in, but maybe I can to try to do evals like we were talking about, even with like key pointing and then a VLM. I think that would be really cool to experiment with. Not the point of that week, but if we have time, maybe I'll throw that in. And then we're getting to world models kind of after the physical AI simulation. So this whole kind of roadmap here, we're doing like generative stuff, a little bit of RL and simulation stuff, and then getting to world models, which I'm excited to see kind of the current state of what that looks like. But so this is actually a little bit of a roadmap that kind of all ties together to get us to world models. And then we'll probably go back to more agentic stuff. But if you have topics that you want to add in, let me know as well. Either ping me on LinkedIn, ping me in the chat right now, join the Slack group. But if you have upcoming like tools or topics that you want to build with and have other people build with, mess around with and talk about, let me know what those are. So most of these subjects come from like talking with the community. And then we had kind of liked doing a little series. Like originally it was all kind of more scattered around to different topics. People liked it when there was a little bit of an arc for doing like we did a whole bunch of LM eval and a whole bunch of agent memory type of stuff and kind of tied them all together. So the arc here is kind of this generative piece that can also be tied together to be like, again, generate a whole end-to-end TV commercial type of thing potentially. Then we're going into like physical AI simulation and reinforcement learning, and then into world models. And that kind of all ties together a little bit. Oh, and so I said, looking at the Inkling model, if it does what it says. So Inkling's the new model from Thinking Machines, which is looks really cool. And then also there's a new Kimi model. I don't know if it's fully out yet, but I've been seeing benchmarks for it. So they announced it every week. A whole bunch of cool new models coming out. The Inkling sounds interesting. I think right now it's like a trillion parameter one. I'm sure there's already distilled versions and stuff from Unsloth. I have to look and see if there's something that I can run on like 100 gigabytes of VRAM. But I know the 1 trillion one I definitely could not. But that just came out like yesterday, I think, right? So I'm sure we'll see the quantized versions and smaller versions that we can run on stuff soon. Oh, and Inkling is also multimodal. Makes sense. Yeah, I actually didn't look at it yet. I just saw the headlines. I think Kimi is too. But yeah, Kimi, people like, again, only benchmarks only that I've seen so far. I don't know if it's came out today now. But it was doing really good, like better than I think even Fable, supposedly. Again, but they're saying we'll believe it when it actually comes out and is in people's hands. Oh, someone said, what is the Inkling model? Let me share it real quick. Inkling Thinking Machines. So they just announced this, I think it was yesterday, July 15th, 2 days ago. And then on Hugging Face as well. Oh, wait, did I? Yeah. I think I shared it. Yeah. So, or this is, I guess, the blog post, not the model card form. But yeah, I haven't dived into it. But yeah, 1 trillion parameters, 1 million context window. I can perceive image, text, audio. I just like the, I mean, I feel like that's most of the models coming out now. Like Gemma 4 does this, a lot of the other ones as well. Trained on 45 trillion tokens of text, image, audio, and video. It's focused on reasoning across modalities such as audio, images, text, and intended for domain adaptation via fine tuning. We've tinkered with this model to build some demos and explore the architecture, and we think it's great for building new wave of multimodal reasoning apps. Yeah, so I haven't tried this out yet. Has anyone in the chat so far? Let's see what their demo is. Let's see, Llama CPP. I wonder if they talk about. Yeah, so they're using Unsloth 1. They have a quantized down to 1-bit precision, reducing VRAM by 95%. Okay, so they might already have a small one out that we could maybe run in like 100 gigs. I'm not sure if that brings it down enough. It seems like it might, though. But it didn't say the full size. It just says how much down it went. Yeah, so it loses some accuracy. It makes sense when you're quantizing it, but it gets way smaller. So I don't know if they say. Does anyone know the amount of VRAM to run this? Yeah, this will be interesting. Too many stuff coming out. We have to do like an event every day to play with every new model or tool, I feel like. Post training. Yeah, this will be fun if we can run this in like 100 gigs. That'd be really cool. I'll have to poke around. I actually don't know if they. Let's see. Inkling Unsloth. See if they actually say how much you need. Um, 285 gigs, but that's just the disk space. I don't think you need that much VRAM. Like you don't need 1.9 terabytes for the full model, I hope. So I wonder if it says, oh, inference, hardware requirements, RAM plus VRAM or unified memory. Oh, so maybe do. I need another DGX Spark so I can network them together. Then we could run it. I've been tempted with all these stuff coming out to get another one, even though prices went up now with the RAM price. So we'll see if another like version comes out that we could run. It'd be cool to check. Cool. All right. So I'm going to wrap up the stream. Thank you, everyone, for coming, talking in the chat. Cool to see you all here again. Again, next week, if you want to do the project, totally recommend it. And next week should be easier to do, I think. I've only messed around a little bit with some of the lighter weight ones in the past. Actually, not even a super lightweight one for text to speech. Mistral has a really good one called Voxtral that I tried, and that was pretty good. But the generation is way faster and I think a little easier to do than video generation. So if you want to join me in building a project and then talking about it next week, join the Slack channel and post what you're building there. Or just come join the stream. I'll share the link out for you to join next time and you can show off your project. But I'm going to wrap up the stream. Happy Friday. Have a good weekend, everyone. And hopefully I'll see you all next week.